I didn't even find out from someone in the family. That would have made too much sense. No, I found out at work. It was Monday morning, and I was in the break room reheating leftovers from the weekend when Natalie, our HR coordinator, walked in holding her phone and humming to herself. Natalie looked up at me and smiled. "Hey, your mom's birthday party looks like it's going to be so cute." I nearly dropped my fork. "Sorry." "What?" Natalie tilted her phone toward me with a grin. "Yeah, Sienna posted the save the date in that women's group. So sweet. That little animation of your mom with a crown. Adorable. You guys went all out." I blinked. What group?" Natalie's smile faltered. "Oh, maybe it was just for the extended fam. I assumed you were in it?" I shook my head slowly, trying to keep my face neutral. "I must have missed it." She laughed awkwardly. "I mean, I'm sure you got it somewhere else. Anyway, looks fun." She walked out. I didn't move. I pulled out my phone and opened every group thread I could think of. Family chat, mom's siblings, even that old cousins group from years ago. Nothing. Then I went to Sienna's page. And there it was. A digital invite covered in sparkles and faux gold accents. At the top, in script so curly it was almost hard to read, it said, "Save the date. Denise turns 65. Hosted with love by her children. Location. To be announced. Time, 4 p.m. sharp. Dinner and toasts to follow underneath were dozens of comments. Count me in. I'll bring the cake." So excited to see everyone again. Can't wait to celebrate this incredible woman. But none of that mattered, because at the top of the post was a tag list, and in that tag list was nearly every family member I'd ever known. My siblings, my cousins, my mom's college friend, even one of my uncles who lives in Portugal. But not me. Not my name. Not even a mistaken tag. Nothing. But before I continue my story, let me know in the comments where you're from, because I would love to know that my story is reaching different places. Also, if you enjoy, subscribe. It will really help the story reach more people. I refreshed the page 3 times. Still nothing. I didn't cry. I just sat down at my desk with my untouched leftovers, staring into space while my food went cold. What do you do with that kind of quiet rejection? Not a slap to the face, just a door quietly shut while you're still standing on the porch. I didn't tell anyone. Not my boyfriend. Not my friends. Definitely not my mom. I went through the week on autopilot. I answered work emails. I cooked frozen dinners. I watched an entire series on mute, not even absorbing what was happening. It's a strange kind of pain when you realize people can plan around you so easily. They didn't even forget. They excluded me deliberately, carefully, quietly, and I wouldn't have known if Natalie hadn't brought it up. That stung more than anything. 3 days passed, no calls, no updates, no slip-ups. Then, Saturday morning, I got a text from Levi. Now, Levi is my cousin on my mom's side. Nice enough guy, never malicious, but not exactly tuned into the emotional subtleties of life. Levi. "Hey, you said you were going to be out of town for work next weekend, right?" I stared at the screen. I hadn't told him. That wasn't a question. That was a setup. Still, I replied, "Yeah." "Why?" A minute later, the dots appeared. Then this, Levi. Cool. Random question. Would it be okay if we used your house for the party? You've got the best space, big kitchen, lots of seating and parking. It'd really help. There it was. They didn't want me. They just wanted the house. Not my voice, not my laughter, not my presence, just the hardwood floors, the clean bathroom, the reliable AC. I stared at the message. They had made sure to leave me off the invite list. But as soon as they found out I'd be gone, they saw a window of opportunity. And not one person, not a single relative, thought to say, "Should we ask her why she wasn't included?" Nope, just, "She's gone. Perfect, let's use the space." I looked around my house, the couch I paid off over 12 months, the walls I painted with my own hands, the framed photo of me and Mom on the shelf, taken on her birthday 3 years ago, when I'd organized dinner, flowers, the entire evening without anyone's help, and now I was useful only as a building. I picked up my phone and typed, "Me." "Sure, I'll leave the key with the neighbor." He replied instantly, "Levi, OMG, you're amazing. Seriously, thank you." Then a second text. "Levi, you're the best. So generous, so generous." I didn't respond, because in that moment, everything clicked. They hadn't forgotten about me. They had made a choice to leave me out, a choice to go around me, a choice to see me as furniture rather than family. But they remembered my house. They remembered the square footage, the updated appliances, the guest bathroom. And that's when I knew. This party wasn't about celebrating my mother. It wasn't about honoring anything. It wasn't about love. It was about convenience. And I wasn't invited to the party. Just expected to set the table. This wasn't the first time they forgot me. Not literally. They always remembered me when something needed to be done. When a bill showed up short. When a niece's birthday snuck up last minute. When a holiday dinner needed hosting and no one else volunteered. That's when they remembered me. I was the reliable one. That's what my mother used to call me when she wanted something. "You've always been the responsible one," Mom would say, handing me a list of things to pick up on my way to Christmas Eve dinner, or my brother Aaron calling out of nowhere with, "Hey, I know it's last minute, but is there any chance you could cover for Emily's baby shower decorations? We kind of overspent on the venue." Or my sister Monica texting me, "You're the only one who knows how to organize this stuff. Can you take care of Grandma's meds this month? I'll Venmo you later." Later never came, and I always said yes, even when it stretched me thin, even when I had to rearrange my schedule, even when it meant pushing my own bills around. Because back then, I still believed that if I gave enough, if I helped enough, they'd eventually see me as more than a stopgap. I was wrong. I paid for catering twice. Once for Mom's birthday, when Aaron forgot to order anything, and once for Thanksgiving, when the oven broke at Aunt Lisa's house. I've been the designated driver for 3 weddings, the default dog sitter for 2 of my cousins' vacations, and the one who covered the security deposit when Monica's daughter got into that fancy dorm. But you know what I wasn't? I wasn't the one they invited to dinner just because. I wasn't the one they called to share good news first. I wasn't the one anyone sat next to when we gathered, unless they needed help opening the wine or figuring out the projector. When we were kids, it was the same. Aaron was the funny one. Monica was the charming one. I was the one who didn't complain when I had to clean up after them. Even at 10, I knew what it meant to be useful. It meant you weren't chosen for company. You were summoned for service. When I got my first job at 16, my parents made me feel like I owed them every cent. Not because they needed it, but because it was expected. "Put some aside," Dad would say, "and be smart. You're the dependable one." When I graduated college and started working full-time, I moved back in with them to save money. They didn't charge me rent, but they made sure I earned my keep: groceries, bills, cleaning, picking up Monica's kids from school. Still, I stayed. Because saving meant one day I could afford something of my own. And eventually, I did. I bought this house. Every inch of it was earned. No cosigner, no help. Just years of saving and working late nights and skipping vacations. I remember the day I signed the mortgage papers. I called Mom right after. I said, "I did it. It's mine." And she replied, "That's wonderful, sweetheart. Now we've got somewhere to host Christmas." No congratulations, no pride, just a checklist. From that moment on, it wasn't my house. It was the family's emergency venue. Aaron threw a birthday dinner here. Monica used it as a meeting point before a cousin's wedding. My parents hosted 2 cookouts in my backyard and told guests our daughter's place like it was theirs. They'd never ask. They'd inform me. "Saturday at 2, Mom would say, "We'll need the folding chairs from the garage." It was subtle, over time, but they stopped seeing the home as mine. It was just available. Because I had it, and they didn't have to pay for it. The idea that I might want privacy, that I might want to be invited, not expected, didn't cross their minds. When I once tried to express how I felt, how exhausted I was, Aaron waved it off. Aaron said, "You're too sensitive. We just know we can count on you." "Isn't that a good thing?" I replied. "It's a lonely thing." He didn't respond. They called me independent like it was a compliment, but they used it as an excuse to exclude me, to not ask how I was doing, to not include me in small moments, only big emergencies. I once heard Monica laugh to someone. "She's got her own life. She likes being on her own. She's always been that way." As if that was a choice. As if being left out made me strong, instead of just tired. And yet, despite it all, I kept showing up. Because I still wanted to belong. I still wanted to be seen. I thought if I just kept being good, generous, available, helpful, one day they'd stop walking past me and start walking toward me. But now I see it clearly. They loved my generosity, but not my presence. I told them they could use the house. I didn't stammer, I didn't sigh, I didn't even ask who'd be attending. I just said it clean, like it didn't matter. I said, "Sure. I'll leave the key with the neighbor." They bought it instantly. And that's exactly what I wanted. Because while they were busy planning a party without me, I was planning something else. See, I was supposed to be gone. That much was true. A work trip, 3 days, industry mixer, hotel, and conference center. But the dates weren't fixed. I had some flexibility. So, after Levi's little request, I called my supervisor. I said, "Hey, would it be okay if I flew out the morning after the event instead of staying through the weekend? I've got some things to take care of at home." She replied, "Of course. Do what you need." I rearranged my flight. I ate the hotel cancellation fee. I didn't care, because I wasn't going to miss this. The moment they walked through my front door, thinking I was gone, that was the moment I knew I had to be there. Not out front, not in the middle of it, but watching, documenting, remembering. So I started preparing. First, the cameras. I don't mean some secret spy operation, just basic home security, already installed, just rarely used. I tested the living room cam, the hallway cam, and the one on the back porch. I made sure the cloud backup was active and that I'd get alerts if things got rowdy. Then I started photographing everything. The wine glasses, still clean and shelved. The guest towels in perfect stacks. The kitchen counters, spotless. The rug I'd vacuumed that morning. I opened a fresh notebook and started jotting things down. 2 bottles of wine in the fridge. 1 untouched cake stand in the cabinet. Guest bathroom stocked with tissue and soap. I wasn't trying to catch anyone in a crime. I just wanted the record straight when it came time to face the truth. Because the truth is, people treat things differently when they think you're watching. And they treat you differently when they think you're not coming back. I packed a small overnight bag, just enough to maintain the illusion that I'd be away. I even left it by the door, like I'd just left for the airport in a rush.
I texted Levi the day before the party. I said, "House is ready, door code's the same." He replied, "You're the best. Everyone's so excited. Mom is going to freak out, in a good way." I wanted to text back, "She already freaked me out, in a bad way," but I didn't. Instead, I smiled. Because they had no idea. No idea that while they were blowing up balloons and finalizing the catering, I was sitting in a hotel 3 miles away with a direct line to every motion detector in that house. I had a window seat, a tray of room service fries, and a front row view of the people who thought I didn't matter. That night, around 9 p.m., I got an alert. Motion in the living room. I opened the app. My brother Aaron had just walked in carrying a stack of folding chairs. He looked comfortable. Too comfortable. Like someone walking into a second home. He was followed by Monica, who set a tray down on the counter and shouted off camera, "Did anyone bring the cooler?"
A few minutes later, my mom arrived. She was laughing. Laughing in the house of the daughter she hadn't invited. I turned the volume down. I didn't want to hear what came next. I checked my notebook. Tomorrow, I'd walk in, early before the party started, not to make a scene, but to make a point. I wasn't angry anymore, not really. I was done. Done being the background character in my own home. Done being the one they counted on, but never counted in. I knew they'd be surprised, maybe even rattled. Good, because sometimes silence doesn't mean peace. Sometimes silence is just someone making plans in the background. They thought I'd be gone. But I was already planning my entrance and my exit. I parked 2 blocks away, not because I had to, but because I wanted the walk, the time, the silence before I stepped into the noise. I wore jeans and a plain black top, no lipstick, no earrings, just myself, bare, steady, present. The sun was beginning to set when I reached the edge of the driveway. I could already hear the music. Someone had made a playlist. I recognized one of Mom's favorite songs, muffled behind the closed windows. Laughter floated through the air. From the outside, it looked like a perfect family gathering. Balloons strung across the porch. Catering trays lined up on a folding table. A "Happy Birthday Denise" banner stretched from one pillar to the other. All on my porch, in front of my front door. I took one breath, then another, and I opened it. No one saw me at first. They were in the middle of the dining room, gathered in a circle. My mother stood in the center, smiling, eyes sparkling under the soft glow of the chandelier. Someone lit candles on a cake. My niece counted down. 1, 2, 3. The room erupted. "Happy birthday to you." I stepped forward, quiet, still, like a shadow slipping into light. "Happy birthday to you." Voices rose, plates clinked, phones recorded, no one turned around. "Happy birthday, dear." And then someone saw me. It was Sienna. She froze mid-lyric, mouth open. I watched her eyes widen, then dart around the room. My cousin Trevor turned next. His head whipped toward me, then quickly back to the group, like he wasn't sure if I was real. Then Aaron, then Monica, and then, "Happy birthday to you." The last note ended with applause, and silence, because by then, half the room had seen me standing just inside the doorway. My mother turned, and her smile fell. She blinked, confused, eyebrows pulling together. "Sweetheart?" I didn't move, not yet. Someone tried to fill the quiet. It was Sienna, stepping forward too quickly, too brightly. Sienna said, "Oh my God, we thought you were in Chicago." Aaron followed suit, laughing a little too loudly. "Yeah, totally caught us off guard." I stepped in further, letting the door close softly behind me. I said, "I was?" But I realized I needed to show up for myself. I walked past the gifts stacked on the console table, past the guest book, past the pile of shoes scattered at the foot of the stairs. They had made themselves comfortable. They had assumed I'd stay gone. Monica stepped forward, arms out like she was going to hug me, but I didn't move to meet her. Monica said, "We were going to FaceTime you later, for a little surprise hello." I tilted my head. That's funny, because the surprise seems to be mine. My mother finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, almost tentative. Mom said, "We didn't know your schedule. We thought you were busy." I replied, "You sent a save the date to everyone but me." Silence. I let the weight of that sentence settle in the room. I found out from someone at work, not from you, not from anyone here. But you remembered the house. Aaron shifted awkwardly, then muttered, "You're overreacting." I looked at him. Calm. Clear. I said, "Don't tell me how to feel about being erased." A few people had put down their drinks. Some were already inching toward the kitchen like they could disappear into it, but I wasn't here to cause a scene. I wasn't here to throw glasses or scream or demand attention. I was here to be seen, for once, as more than a backup, as more than a building. Sienna tried again, forcing a nervous laugh. Sienna said, "Hey, look, we didn't mean anything by it. It just kind of happened. Everyone assumed someone else added you." I replied, "And yet, when you realized I'd be out of town, you didn't ask how I was. You asked for the key." Trevor cleared his throat. Trevor said, "Look, you're here now. That's what matters, right?" I turned to him. I said, "What matters is that I remember this. All of it." I walked over to the table, where the cake was half melted and the candles still sat smoking. I looked around the room. At the family who once said I was generous, dependable, loyal, and treated me like furniture. They didn't know what to do with me now that I was standing up, so they just stood there. My mom stepped forward, voice softer. Mom said, "Honey, it's still your home. You could have said something sooner." I smiled. Not cruelly, not cold, just honestly. I said, "No, you could have invited me, and you didn't." And that was the truth, not a fight, not a breakdown, just a boundary, because I wasn't crashing their party. I was reclaiming my place and drawing a line. The silence didn't last forever. Once people realized I wasn't here to scream, they started breathing again. The music turned back on, low this time, hesitant. A few cousins made their way back to the drink station. My aunt began whispering to someone behind her napkin, eyes darting between me and the cake. But the air had changed. They could all feel it. I stood in the center of my living room, the one they had rearranged without asking, and slowly raised my glass. Not to toast, to talk. "Hi, everyone," I said calmly. Conversations stopped again. A few heads turned, some didn't. I continued. "I know most of you weren't expecting me. I wasn't supposed to be here, remember? I was going to be out of town." A couple people chuckled nervously. I kept going, still polite, still measured. But I changed my plans. Because I realized I had something important to say. Not just to one or two people, to all of you. Monica crossed her arms. Aaron avoided eye contact. I gestured toward the room, the food, the lights, the rented chairs, the wine chilling in the fridge. "I'm glad everyone's enjoying themselves. Really. It's a beautiful party. And it should be, because it cost a lot." Sienna tried to lighten the moment with a quick joke. Sienna said, "Well, you've got good taste, clearly." I smiled without warmth. "I do, and I've also got a folder." I walked over to the coffee table, pulled out the slim black folder I'd tucked behind a lamp before arriving, and held it up. "I brought receipts," I said. "Literally." My mother looked puzzled. "Receipts for what?" I looked directly at her. For everything. I walked back to her slowly, not with drama, not with flair, just intention. And I placed the folder in her hands. She opened it. Page after page of printed receipts, invoices, bank transfers, dates scribbled neatly in the margins, highlights where I'd covered costs, the birthday dinner 3 years ago, the graduation gifts, the rental van for the family reunion, groceries during Dad's surgery recovery, the security deposit Monica had promised to pay me back, the catering from Aaron's surprise engagement dinner that I was told about the night before. Every act of support. Every time they forgot to pay, or forgot to thank me, or just forgot me entirely. I let her hold the weight of it. Then I spoke. To everyone enjoying the food, the music, the roof, just know this is the last time I'm paying for any of it. That landed. A few people laughed, unsure if it was a joke. It wasn't. I said it again. This is the last time I'm paying for any of it. Monica opened her mouth but didn't say anything. Aaron finally found his voice. Aaron said, "Come on, is this really the time for this?" I looked at him. I said, "You've had plenty of time. You've all had years." Sienna muttered something under her breath. I said, "What was that?" She replied, "You didn't have to do all that stuff. No one forced you." I nodded. "You're right. No one forced me. I did it because I cared, because I thought I was part of something." I looked back at my mother, still holding the folder. But it turns out I was just useful. And when I wasn't needed, you all moved on. Trevor, trying to keep things light, said, "Okay, but this is Mom's birthday. Shouldn't we just—" I cut in, still calm. "She's your mother too. You could have invited me." No one had a comeback for that. I let the silence hold again. Let it echo through the space they had taken for granted. "I'm not angry," I said. "I'm not here to make a scene." I looked around the room, at the family who always said I was strong, independent, generous. People who loved what I gave, but never looked back to see who was doing the giving. I'm just done. My voice didn't shake. I didn't tear up. I was past that now. I added, I didn't come to fight. I came to stop funding people who don't see me. And that was the truth. Not revenge, just reality. The party came and went. People trickled out awkwardly that night, their hugs short, their smiles a little too tight. No one lingered like they normally did. The usual after-party laughter faded quickly. Chairs were stacked without ceremony. Plates were tossed instead of washed, and no one offered to stay behind to help clean up. That had always been my job anyway. But this time, I wasn't touching a thing. The next morning, I woke up to silence. No apology texts, no explanations, just a still phone screen and the soft hum of peace in my kitchen. It felt unfamiliar, but right. Then slowly, the ripple began. Aunt Clara sent me a text. Aunt Clara wrote, "You said what needed saying. Proud of you." My cousin Celeste messaged me too. Celeste wrote, "Wow, just wow. Took guts. Wish I could have done it first." But most of the family, they stayed quiet. Aaron didn't call. He didn't even text at first. 3 days later, he sent a half-hearted message that read, Aaron wrote, "So I guess this is how things are now?" I read it, let it sit, then deleted it. No reply. Monica was less subtle. She sent a long, dramatic email. Subject line, "A big misunderstanding." She wrote, "We never used you. We just thought you didn't mind helping. You've always been the one with it all together. We figured you liked being in charge. Honestly, it's not fair to drop all that on us in public." No apology. Just more gaslighting wrapped in concern. I didn't answer. Because I wasn't angry. I wasn't even disappointed anymore. I was clear. I changed my online banking access. canceled the linked accounts, the recurring gifts, the shared subscriptions. The family Netflix? Gone. The annual donation to the cousin's fundraiser? Removed. The emergency credit card mom used just for groceries? Disabled. I went through my Venmo history, and the pattern was embarrassingly clear. It wasn't generosity anymore, it was dependency, and I'd fed it for years. The next birthday came up, Aaron's daughter. Normally, I'd order a custom cake, send a card, and drop in $100 for her college fund. This time, nothing, and no one even asked why, because deep down, they already knew. They weren't shocked because I changed. They were shocked because I stopped. Stopped letting them pretend they didn't know. Stopped pretending I was fine. Stopped pouring from a cup they never once tried to refill. Then came the first real test. It was 2 weeks later. A Tuesday. My phone rang while I was folding laundry. Monica. I let it ring once, twice, and then picked up. Me. Hello? Monica's voice was soft, hesitant. Monica said, "Hey, I wasn't sure if you'd answer." Me. "Well, I did." She paused, then sighed. Monica said, I don't know how else to say this. I'm in a tight spot. Me. "What kind of spot?" Monica sniffled like she'd been crying. Monica said, "The car's acting up. The transmission's gone. I can't get the kids to school without it. The repair's like $2,000. I wouldn't ask, but..." I cut in. Me. "You're asking for money." Monica went quiet, then she said, "Yes. Just until the end of the month. You've helped before." I watched a bird land on the fence outside my window, then take off again. Me. "Not anymore." Her voice cracked. Monica said, "But you always do?" Me. "Exactly. And I've stopped." There was a silence, heavy, stubborn. Then Monica said, "So that's it?" Me. "That's it." She didn't say goodbye, just hung up. I set the phone down, folded another towel, and let the stillness settle in. I wasn't shaken. I wasn't sad. I didn't feel cruel. I felt free. Because that was the test. The old me would have caved, would have sent something, anything, just to avoid the guilt. But not this time. For the first time, I chose myself over their approval, over their convenience, over the fear of being called cold. I wasn't being cold. I was being clear. I wasn't punishing them. I was protecting myself. I didn't send explanations or disclaimers. I didn't need them to agree with me. I didn't need them to like it. I just needed space. Space from the constant expectation, from the subtle guilt, from the years of being treated like the emergency exit they never thanked. They didn't lose my money. They lost access to the part of me they never respected. And honestly, that was worth far more than anything they ever asked for. Months passed, birthdays came and went, holidays too, and for once, I didn't host a thing. No family dinner at my place, no holiday brunch with me in the kitchen by 6 a.m., no last-minute grocery runs because someone forgot to bring the drinks. The house got quieter, and somehow it got warmer. I started filling it with different kinds of people, friends who checked in just because, colleagues who brought laughter, not drama. My neighbor across the street, Miriam, who started coming by for tea on Thursdays. We'd sit in the sunroom, sip ginger tea, and talk about everything and nothing. One afternoon, she looked around the room and smiled. Miriam said, "It's beautiful here. You've made it yours." And I realized she was right. Because for the first time in years, the house didn't feel borrowed. It didn't feel like a shared stage or a rented backdrop for someone else's importance. It felt like home. My home, the kind where I didn't have to ask who rearranged the furniture or why the good plates were missing. The kind where peace wasn't something I had to schedule around other people's noise. Then, one evening, my mom called, not to ask for anything, just to chat. I let it go to voicemail. The next day, a card showed up in my mailbox, plain white envelope. My name, written in her cursive. Inside it said, "I miss you. I know I haven't always gotten it right, but I don't know how to fix it. Please call when you can. Love, Mom." There were no fireworks inside me, no anger, no warmth either, just silence. I didn't call, I didn't throw the card away either. I put it in a drawer. Maybe one day I'll read it again. Maybe not. Then came the real full circle moment. A few weeks later, I hosted something. Not a party, a gathering, 10 people, all chosen, all intentional, friends who'd stood by me. A mentor from work, 2 women from the book club I'd joined last fall. Miriam brought homemade cookies, the house glowed, soft music, real laughter, no tension, no fake smiles. At one point, someone asked, "Do you ever do family parties here?" I smiled and said, "Not anymore." Then, almost on cue, the doorbell rang. It was Levi, my cousin. He looked sheepish. Levi said, "Hey." I was driving by and I saw the cars. I wasn't sure if it was okay to stop by. I didn't invite him in. I stepped outside and gently closed the door behind me. I said, "It's good to see you, but this one's not for family." He blinked. Levi said, "Oh, I didn't mean to." I cut in. I said, "I know you didn't. But it's important I say it out loud. These gatherings, they're for people who remember to include me, not just my square footage." He nodded slowly, then said, "You've changed." I smiled. I have. And I wasn't apologizing for it, because the truth was I hadn't changed who I was. I just stopped apologizing for it. I stopped bending to be acceptable. Stopped offering parts of myself just to be tolerated. Stopped showing up for people who couldn't name a single thing I loved besides convenience. They could keep the party. The family photos I wasn't in, the speeches I didn't hear, the gifts I didn't get credit for, the smiles they practiced in mirrors before they arrived. They could have all of it. Because I kept something better. I kept my peace. I kept my self-respect. I kept my name off group texts that only wanted my wallet. I kept the right to decide who walks through my front door. And I kept the version of me that shows up, for herself first. They may never say sorry. They may never understand what they lost. But I do. And that's enough. Because this time, I'm not waiting to be invited. This time, I am the host. And the guest list? It's mine now. The end. Hey, do you think I overreacted? You can be honest. Let me know in the comments.